The silence of space broke when a forgotten fleet appeared beyond the orbit of Mars. For 30,000 years, no one had spoken the name of their world. No signal, no trace, only darkness. And now, after all that time, they had finally returned. The alien flagship, Alarian Prime, glided through the void like a silver blade. Its surface carried the scars of time, ancient panels repaired again and again during their long exile. Inside the command deck, Commander Serial stood motionless, his eyes fixed on the blue planet ahead. Earth, the cradle they once left behind. "We have reached the coordinates," said a young officer in a calm, echoing voice. "The system matches the old records, but there are unknown signals everywhere." Serial narrowed his eyes. "Unknown?" "Yes, Commander. Power readings, massive ones. Cities, energy fields, orbital structures." The officer hesitated. "It seems the planet is not empty." The commander turned his gaze to the holographic screen. Thousands of energy signatures lit up the map like stars. The readings pulsed with rhythm, organized, intelligent. Serial's cold expression changed slightly, confusion breaking through his discipline. "After 30,000 years," he whispered, "something has awakened." The crew members looked at one another, uncertain. The last record of Earth showed it in ruins. Their ancestors had fled during the Age of Collapse, believing no life would survive the Great Firestorm. The fleet had wandered among the stars ever since, carrying what remained of their people, waiting for a time when they could return and recover what was lost. Their buried ship and supplies hidden deep beneath Earth's soil. "Bring us closer," Serial ordered. His voice was calm, but his mind was racing. "Activate cloaking fields. No one must know we are here." The great vessel began to descend through the void, slipping silently past the glowing satellites that circled Earth. Each structure they passed seemed impossibly advanced, massive stations made of metals that did not exist when they left. Some glowed with blue light. Others carried strange markings, symbols, words, languages unknown to them. The clouds opened as Alarian Prime entered the atmosphere. The ship moved through endless layers of mist and then light. The crew stared in silence as the planet revealed itself below. Oceans glittered like molten glass. Cities shone across continents brighter than constellations. Airships moved in clean lines and giant towers pierced the sky. "It is beautiful," whispered one of the crew members. "They rebuilt it." Serial said nothing. He had imagined this moment for centuries, dreaming of dust, ruin, and silence. Instead, he saw a living world pulsing with energy. "Scan for life," he ordered. "Find who rules this planet." The sensors worked in silence. Then a calm voice answered, "Billions of life signs. No match with any known alien DNA, but one species dominates completely." "Which one?" The officer looked up slowly. "Humans." The word hung in the air like thunder. The crew exchanged uneasy glances. Humans were primitive when the aliens last saw them, barely climbing from the mud, still fighting each other with metal and fire. Now this planet, their planet, was filled with their presence. The aliens could not understand how such a species had survived. "How could they have done this?" whispered Serial. "They had nothing. We took our technology. We took our knowledge. They were supposed to fade away." The communication officer interrupted, his voice trembling. "Commander, I am detecting a direct signal. Someone is hailing us." "Hailing us?" Serial frowned. "That is impossible. We are cloaked. It is on an open frequency." In their language, the room grew silent. Then a human voice filled the bridge. It was calm, deep, and unmistakably confident. "Unknown vessel entering Earth's atmosphere, identify yourself." "You are not on any registry, but we know what you are." The crew froze. No one spoke. "We've been expecting you." The signal ended. The silence that followed was heavy. For the first time in thousands of years, the aliens felt something they had forgotten. Fear. "How could they detect us?" one of the officers whispered. "Even the Dominion fleets could not." Serial did not answer. He walked closer to the viewing window, staring down at the world below. The clouds reflected the city lights like golden fire. The humans had built wonders, but what lay behind them? What kind of minds ruled this world now? He finally turned to his crew. "Prepare a descent team. We are going down." The air grew tense. No one protested, but everyone felt the weight of that command. For generations, they had imagined this day as a homecoming. Now it felt like walking into the territory of giants. Alarian Prime began its descent. The massive ship glided over the oceans, breaking through a layer of thin clouds. Lightning danced far below. The alien vessel cast a shadow over the surface, reflecting sunlight in a halo of silver and flame. On the screens, the ancient coordinates appeared. Sector 9B, North Continent. That was where their lost supply ship had fallen long ago. Now sensors showed new structures built around it. Metal towers, scanning stations, human colonies. The aliens could see the shape of their own ship buried beneath layers of technology far beyond their design. "It is here," said the science officer. "Our lost vessel. But it has been changed." Serial leaned closer to the image. The remains of their ship were surrounded by human-built machinery, lights and drones. The humans were studying it or using it. "They found our relic," he said quietly. "They made it their own." He stood still for a long time, the silence broken only by the soft hum of the ship. His crew waited for orders. Finally he spoke, his voice low and steady. "Perhaps it is time to see what humanity has become." The ship's engines roared as it descended toward the glowing surface, clouds swirling around like waves. The human world below waited, ancient and new, peaceful and dangerous. As they neared the ground, the commander whispered words only he could hear. 30,000 years, and now we return as strangers." The view outside shifted one last time. In the distance, a line of human airships was already moving toward them. Lights flickered across the sky, locking onto their position. The humans had found them, and for the first time in ages, the great alien fleet realized it was not they who had discovered Earth again. It was Earth that had discovered them. The alien ship Ilarion Prime descended through clouds of gold and silver light, hidden behind its cloaking field. Lightning flashed beneath them as if the planet itself remembered who had once ruled its skies. Commander Serial stood near the wide viewing glass, watching continents drift below. His heart was steady, but something inside him felt strangely heavy, a feeling he had not known for ages. "Commander, we are approaching the ancient crash zone," said the navigator. Coordinates match the old supply vessel. Designation R12, but it is no longer alone. Serial looked down at the data screen. What was once a barren desert was now a shining plain, covered with strange metallic structures. Energy lines ran across the ground like veins of light. Drones moved in circles, scanning, guarding, repairing. "Land us outside their perimeter," he ordered. "No aggression. Observe first." The ship touched down on a plateau overlooking the valley. Dust rose, then settled in silence. The crew stepped out into Earth's air for the first time in 30,000 years. It was rich with oxygen, heavy with warmth, and alive. They saw it immediately. The old alien vessel lay deep in the center of the human complex, half buried, half reborn. Human engineers had rebuilt parts of it, wrapping their own machines around its frame like vines growing over ancient ruins. Blue lights pulsed from places that once glowed orange in the alien's design. Serial approached slowly, his boots pressing into the soft soil. "They touched it," he said quietly. "They dared to touch what we left behind." "Commander," said the science officer, scanning with a wrist device, "their energy output surpasses ours by at least 3 generations. They refined our plasma cores and improved them." The crew exchanged uneasy looks. To see their forgotten technology living again, but in the hands of another species, it was both pride and humiliation at once. Before they could move further, a sound broke the silence and a low hum in the sky. 3 human aircraft appeared above them, sleek and silent, shaped like wings of dark glass. They stopped midair and hovered. A voice came from the comms in perfect translation. "Unidentified visitors, you are standing on restricted ground. Do not attempt to cloak or retreat." "Lower your weapons." Serial raised a hand, signaling peace. "We come not to fight," he answered calmly. "We come to reclaim what was lost." There was a long pause. Then one of the aircraft lowered to the ground. From it stepped a human, tall, steady, wearing a long coat lined with light. His eyes were calm but sharp, reflecting a quiet confidence. He looked at the aliens as if he had already known them. "Commander Serial," the man said, speaking the alien name perfectly. "Welcome home." The aliens froze. "How do you know my name?" Serial asked. The man smiled faintly. "History remembers you. Your ship fell from our skies 30 millennia ago. We studied it. We learned. Everything you see here, our energy grids, our cities, our medicine, began with what your people left behind." Serial could not find words. The human's voice carried no fear, no arrogance, only calm authority. The tone of a civilization that no longer bowed to anyone, You built all this? From our ruins. The man nodded. You left us with fragments of your science. We built an age from those fragments. When your kind vanished into the void, we took your legacy and made it our own. Behind him, holograms came to life. Projections of history carved into the air. They showed humans discovering the fallen alien ship, decoding its language, understanding its power. Centuries passed in seconds. Humans building cities that touched the sky, ships that left the planet, colonies among the stars. Serial's crew watched in silence. One whispered, "They were primitives when we left. How could they rise so fast?" The human heard the whisper and turned toward them. "Because we had no choice. We were weak once, but we learned to become the storm." A soft wind moved across the plateau. The alien commander felt the ground beneath his boots vibrate with life. The hum of human machines, the quiet heartbeat of a planet awake. "What do you intend to do with our ship?" Serial finally asked. The human looked at the buried vessel. "We preserved it. It is a monument now, a reminder of where we came from. You may see it if you wish." He gestured for them to follow. As they walked through the facility, the aliens saw symbols carved into metal walls. Not alien, but human, mixed with traces of their own ancient language. It was strange and familiar at once, like seeing one's reflection in a river that had changed its course. Inside the main chamber stood the heart of the old supply ship. The metal was smooth and shining again, cleaned and rebuilt. Human scientists had merged it with their own reactors. It no longer belonged to one race. It was something new. "This is impossible," said one alien engineer. "They solved the energy decay problem we never could." The human smiled. "Your ancestors built the door. We only found the key." Serial stepped closer to the reactor core. He could feel its pulse. A rhythm that echoed through the air, through the walls, through his chest. For the first time, he felt small in front of something his people had created. "Commander," said his second officer softly, "perhaps this planet no longer needs us." Serial looked at her. "No, it needs to remember us, but we must remember them too." The human approached him again, his eyes calm. "We studied your people for centuries, hoping you would return. We wondered what kind of beings you truly were, creators or destroyers. Now you stand here again. Tell me, Commander, what are you today?" Serial did not answer. He simply turned toward the reactor once more. The glow reflected on his face like dawn after a long night. He whispered quietly, "We are what we left behind." Outside, thunder rolled across the sky. Far above, Ilarion Prime hovered like a silent witness to the rebirth of two civilizations. One ancient, one new, both tied by the same lost legacy. And for the first time, the aliens understood that they had not returned to claim what was theirs. They had returned to see what they had unknowingly created. The night sky above the human facility shimmered with soft blue lights. The air smelled of rain and electricity. Commander Cyril stood at the edge of the platform, staring at the human city below, a sea of towers glowing like a second galaxy upon the Earth. He had seen empires rise and fall during his long voyage through the stars, yet nothing compared to this. These humans had built wonders from the dust he once called home. The human envoy, Captain Elias Rowe, approached quietly. "You wanted to know where it all began," he said. "Come with me. There is something you must see." Serial followed him through a glass corridor that led deep underground. The walls pulsed faintly with light, like veins carrying energy through a living creature. When they reached the end, the doors opened to a vast chamber filled with holographic projectors and crystalline pillars. "This," Elias said softly, "is the Hall of Origin." At a motion of his hand, the air came alive. Images filled the chamber, ancient Earth scarred and burning. The aliens watched as firestorms swept across continents and oceans boiled under storms of radiation. "This is how your ancestors left us," Elias said. "The collapse destroyed most life. Your ships fled to the stars, but some of your kind stayed behind." Serial frowned. "Stayed behind? That is not possible. None could have survived." Elias turned toward him. "They did. They adapted. They mixed with the few remaining humans. Over time they changed, and so did we." The hologram shifted again. They showed pale figures walking among early tribes, teaching them how to use tools, how to draw power from the Earth. The aliens in the images looked almost human, familiar yet not the same. Serial's crew stood frozen. That means, one whispered. Humans carry part of us, Elias nodded. Your people did not only create us through technology, they became part of us through blood and memory. Humanity is not a stranger to you, Commander. We are your descendants. Silence filled the hall. The truth was like gravity, heavy and impossible to escape. Serial stepped closer to the projections. All this time we believed we were coming home to our lost world. But this world has never been lost. It changed, and we were the ones who were lost to it. Elias looked at him with quiet pride. You left Earth to survive. We stayed to remember. Both choices saved something of our kind. One of the younger aliens walked forward, her voice trembling. If they are part of us, then why did you rebuild the ship? Why keep it alive? Elias turned to her. Because it was the last voice of our origin. We built our world upon its bones, but we never forgot who gave us the spark. He guided them deeper into the chamber, where a single stasis pod stood inside a circle of blue light. Its glass was cracked but still pulsing faintly with power. Inside lay a preserved alien body, ancient, peaceful, unchanged by time. Serial stared at the face through the glass. It was his ancestor, one of the first explorers. The same crest marks adorned the forehead, the same pattern he carried in his DNA. This one never left, Elias said. He stayed to help humanity rebuild after the collapse. His knowledge became the seed of our rebirth. We call him the architect. Serial placed his hand gently on the glass. Our legend spoke of a traitor who refused to flee, he whispered. But he was no traitor. He was the savior of both our species. The human nodded. History has many sides. You had the stars. We had the ashes. But together we built the fire again. A low hum filled the chamber as the stasis pod's core glowed brighter, reacting to Serial's touch. Lines of light spread across the floor, connecting to the walls and rising into the air. The entire hall responded as if recognizing its lost kin. Elias looked around with awe. Your presence woke it. It remembers you. Serial took a step back, the light reflecting in his eyes. Then it knows that we have returned not as rulers but as witnesses. The projections changed again. Now they showed humans and aliens working side by side in the distant future, building ships together, walking under twin suns, sharing a single destiny. It was a vision not of conquest but of unity. One of Serial's officers spoke softly. Perhaps this is why the stars guided us back. Not to reclaim our past but to understand it. Elias smiled faintly. You came searching for what you lost. But what you lost was never a ship or supplies. It was your connection to who you once were. Serial stood in silence for a long time, his reflection mixing with the holographic images. Then maybe, he said finally, the universe wanted us to find our children. Outside, dawn began to rise. Sunlight poured through the transparent walls of the facility, touching the old alien metal and the new human steel alike. The two materials gleamed together, one story flowing into another. Elias turned toward the light. There is something else, Commander. Humanity has not stopped reaching. We have colonies far beyond this world, but no matter how far we go, every ship carries a fragment of your language on its hull, a promise that the stars belong to no one race. Serial looked at him, then at the glowing horizon. And do you still call this world Earth? Elias nodded. Yes, but in our oldest tongue it means the place of return. The alien commander breathed deeply, feeling the air of his ancient home. It was heavier than the air of the void, filled with warmth, life and memory. He looked at Elias and said softly, Then perhaps, Captain, we did not come back to reclaim Earth. We came home to find ourselves. The two stood in silence as the rising sun washed the hall in gold. For the first time in 30,000 years, alien and human watched the same dawn together, not as strangers, not as enemies, but as one species rediscovering its truth. And far above them, orbiting the blue planet, the great ship Ilarion Prime turned slowly toward the light, its engines quiet, a relic of the past carrying hope for the future. The sun rose over the horizon, painting the earth in gold. From the upper atmosphere, the world looked alive, oceans sparkling, continents breathing with light. Above it, the alien flagship Ilarion Prime hovered silently. Its silver surface reflected the planet below, as if the ship was staring at its own reflection in time. Inside the ship, Commander Serial stood before the bridge window. His mind was full of what he had seen, the truth of the past, the unity of blood, and the future that belonged to both species. He had spent his life believing his people were the peak of evolution. Now he knew that pride had blinded them. Behind him, the crew worked in silence. No one dared to speak. For the first time, they felt like guests, visitors in a place that once belonged to them. The screen lit up with a new signal. "Commander," said the comms officer, "the human leader requests a direct link." "Put him through," Serial said. The hologram came alive, showing Captain Elias Rowe standing beneath the morning sky. The golden light of Earth reflected on his face. "Commander Serial," Elias began, "the Council of Humanity sends their gratitude. Your return has given us answers to questions we carried for centuries." Serial bowed slightly. "It is we who should thank you. You carried our spark when we had forgotten it. You built light out of our ashes," Elias smiled. "Maybe it was always meant to happen this way. You left the world to survive. We stayed to remember. Now both paths meet again." There was a short silence. Then Serial asked, "What will you do with the knowledge we shared?" Elias looked up at the sky. "We will protect it. Not for conquest, not for power, but for balance. Humanity does not seek to rule the galaxy. We seek to understand it." He paused, then added, "Our ancestors once feared your kind. Now we know we are part of you, and if ever you need a home again, this planet will open its gates." Those words struck Serial deeply. He had spent centuries guiding his people through empty worlds, always searching for a home. Yet home was here, waiting, and it was offered by the children of the stars they had once abandoned. "Your world has become something greater than we could imagine," Serial said softly. "Your strength is not in your weapons or cities, it is in your will." Elias nodded. "That is what makes us human." At that moment, a distant alarm sounded on the alien bridge. One of the officers spoke urgently. "Commander, we are detecting energy waves from orbit. Satellites are aligning. It appears to be a transmission." Elias smiled again. "Do not be alarmed. It is not a weapon." The hologram behind him shifted, revealing a colossal station high above the planet, built partly from alien and human designs, forming a ring of light around Earth. "This," Elias said, "is the Ark of Memory. It carries the story of both our species. Every ship that leaves our solar system receives a message from it. We call it humanity's final message." He raised his hand toward the hologram and the message began to play. The voice was not human or alien. It was both, layered in tone, a perfect harmony of their two lineages. "To those who find this world, know that Earth is not only the home of humans. It is the cradle of all who seek to rise again. We were born from loss, rebuilt from ruin, and forged in the fire of memory. We do not conquer. We remember. We do not destroy. We rebuild. And wherever the stars take us, we will carry the light of those who came before. This is our vow, and from humanity to the universe." The bridge fell silent. No one moved. The message echoed through the walls like a song older than time. Serial's eyes softened. "You have given us more than a home, Captain. You have given us meaning." Elias smiled faintly. "Meaning is all we ever needed." Then, slowly, he stepped closer to the camera feed and said something simple, something that felt like the heartbeat of the story itself. "Welcome home, Commander." The transmission ended. For a long moment, Serial stood without speaking. Then he turned toward his crew. "Prepare the fleet for departure." "Departure?" one officer asked in confusion. "But Commander, this is—" Serial raised a hand gently. "Home is not where we stay. It is where we learn who we are. Humanity has found their place. Now we must find ours again, with this truth in our hearts." The engines of Alarian Prime began to hum softly, light shimmering across its hull. The great ship slowly rose higher into the sky, through the clouds and into the silence of space. Elias watched from the ground as the ship disappeared into the blue. Around him, the humans stood in quiet respect. One of his officers asked, "Do you think they will come back?" Elias smiled as the last trace of silver vanished from sight. "Maybe not soon," he said. "But when they do, they will not be visitors. They will be family." High above, the stars began to appear one by one, lighting up the dark-like eyes watching from eternity. The Ark of Memory glowed brighter, sending a beam of white light into the cosmos. A message, a promise, a beacon of peace, and somewhere far beyond, Commander Serial looked out of the viewport at that beam. He whispered quietly, "They no longer need our legacy. They are our legacy." The ship turned away, its engines flaring like a sunrise in the void. The stars stretched into lines and the fleet vanished into hyperspace. Only the message of Earth remained, echoing through the dark. We do not forget. We rise.